Boys, I wanted to move on a little bit. I wanted to ask you a question. Manchester United talks today about Zerbi coming in as manager. Thoughts on that?
Go on, Dan.
Personally, mate, I just think it's same old Manchester United, if I'm honest. I don't think Manchester United are going to change and be serious about winning titles until the Glazers go. I have to be honest. I just think that they're the problem. I look at the ownership and I look at the amount of money they've spent and I look at what it's been allowed to spend on. I look at the Man United side and I think, what? That is billions of pounds worth of squad. What the hell is going on there? And it doesn't seem to me like there's going to be any structure. And if this new guy's coming in and he's trying to bring, Ratcliffe, he's trying to bring in Dan Ashworth or for Mitchell, whoever it be. For me, Paul Mitchell, even not Phil Mitchell, he's in his EastEnders. Paul Mitchell. If you're going to bring them in and you're going to try to sign players like Choupo-Moting, then nothing's changed. For me, nothing has changed at Manchester United. It's just two different names trying to buy players that ain't good enough. The days of Manchester United centre forwards being Wout Weghorst and Falcao and Igalo and Choupo-Moting, just different years, same old story. For me, I can't believe the Man United fan base are not in riot to get the Glazers out of the club anymore. I just don't get it. For me, they've just been an absolute shambles. You're going to do another project manager now under Zerbi. Now, there's two options you've got, Tel. You can go and throw money at this Diego Simeone or Hansi Flick, or you can try another project like you did with Ten Hag, like you did with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like you did with Louis van Gaal, and go and try and do some form of project over 5 years process like Arsenal have tried to do. But I keep saying it on shows. Just because a process is now in place does not mean the end goal is trophies. Yeah, you could have 5 years of Arteta and you could have 2 years of Diego Simeone. And in 5 years, you might have different managers at Manchester United because Simeone only lasted 2 years. But actually, you could have 2 trophies and Arsenal and Arteta could have none in 5 years. But we've had a process and Man United have tried to win now. And I just think that there's 2 ways of looking at it. You could look at the Chelsea approach and have 15 trophies and 15 managers, or you can have, in that time, 2 managers and 2 processes. And that's the honest way I look at it, man. I feel personally Manchester United need to make a big decision as a fan base about what you want, because the Glazers are going to throw money wherever. It's not money. Yeah, Man United spent an unbelievable amount of money. So have Arsenal, by the way, right? You've got to decide where you want. And I think Zerbi, for me, is going to be another one of these project managers that will come in. And why will it be different to Ten Hag? Because he's better than Ten Hag, is he? I don't know, is he? I've no idea.
I'll tell you why it could be different. I get your point, but do you know why it could be different? The appointment so far, first of all, Blanc coming onto our board. You then have Omar Barada coming in from Manchester City as the CEO. It's highly touted that the likes of Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell are going to come in from a sporting and footballing director point of view to run the recruitment and everything else. The problem that Ten Hag and everybody else came in with when it comes to their rebuild is we actually haven't performed the rebuild at this club once in the past 10 years. The rebuilds have never happened because it wasn't just the manager that was a problem or a player or two that was an issue. It was systemic from inside out of this football club. The way we're being run, bankers and accountants making footballing decisions with no pedigree in the game. The fact now that Ten Hag would have been much more of a success if when we employed him, we also brought in a brand new board, brand new technical directors, brand new whoever else it may be. If we'd have done that clear out at exactly the same time, there would have been an improvement. Now, I do agree. I don't want us to go down this road of 5 years. It's okay not to win a trophy because we're rebuilding. I want us to fight towards that. But we need to build something that is sustainable beyond any one manager. We need a footballing philosophy where every player we buy, male or female, by the way, from the under-9s through to our first team, all have to be trained to play the same way or have the same similar characteristics and technical capabilities for particular roles that they fulfill. That way, if after 4 years of success with Zerbi or Simeone, that manager moves on to pastures new, or they start to struggle and we move them out, you never need a rebuild again. You always are going to need 2 or 3 additional players in, 2 or 3 players out, because every club does that always. But we need to get to that point where after sacking a manager, we're not saying, right, we need to clear out 90% of the squad, change the philosophy. When Man United have hired new managers, every manager has changed so many things. We're going to add trees to the training ground. We're not going to let the players sit with the staff. We're not going to let this happen. We're going to start playing this style of football. Man United, by the way, under the last 5 managers, our first team have played a different style to every other level of football at the club. These things for me are far more important than, so like, I don't mind Zerbi coming in. I want Simeone as my first choice, but those things being fixed for me are far more important than who we hire as a manager and who we buy or sell in the summer. And as long as we get that right, I do have faith in whoever they bring in, because it shows me they're making the right football decisions, from the beginning, if that makes sense. Because right now, up until now, the last 10 years, the football making decisions have been absolutely horrendous. So
it's been a shambles.
I think the first step so far under the new Ineos part ownership, the first steps of the likes of Blanc and Omar coming in, I think are impeccably good. But we need so much more of that, in my opinion.
Listen, I totally agree with everything you said about the structure of the football club, because it's been a shambles, right? It's been an absolute shambles. And I look at what Manchester United have been in the last decade, and it's been embarrassing, And that's coming from an Arsenal fan who's been in turmoil for probably longer, right? So for me, when I look at it, I think, what the hell is Man United now? Like, I look at everything about it, it's unrecognisable to the one that I absolutely hated growing up watching, because it used to destroy us and other teams, right? And I had some good fights with Man United. At my high school years over the 90s and 2000s, it was brilliant banner, because it was us winning, then you winning, unbelievable Fergie and Wenger rivalry. So there's been an absolute shambles for both clubs in terms of where we were to where we are now. But for me, he plays an attractive style of play. Oh, yeah, he's going to come over and implement that style. I've heard that all before, mate. I heard it with Ten Hag. Yeah, I heard that before. And Ten Hag, the difference? He actually did win at Ajax. He actually did come and try to, you would have thought, try and get a style of play. It hasn't happened. And is Zerbi going to be in the same? Is Zerbi going to come over from Brighton, try and play a style of play that everybody wants, this Pep Guardiola style out from the back, and then it not be able to happen? I just wonder why you're going again for a Zerbi. Is he better than Ten Hag? Maybe. I don't know. I've no idea. He's not managed Manchester United yet. It's a completely different job managing Ajax to Man United, let alone Brighton to Man United. Yeah. So there's a lot of good things at Brighton, but we saw what happened to Graham Potter. Graham Potter left, went to the job's too big for him at Chelsea. Is the Zerbi job going to be too big for him at Manchester United? I would probably say yes. I think it would. So I don't look at that and go, "Cool, yeah, Man United are back. Jesus Christ, just got Zerbi." I look and I think, God, that's going to be a good few years again then. If you got Simeone and said, right, here's this, the way we're structured now. You sort your structure out. This is how we're going to buy players. We are going to give you the money you need to build your team. And in 2 windows, you are going to be in a better position. I'd have more faith in Simeone in 2 windows than I would in Zerbi.
I agree with that. You've seen one of the things that's already been implemented at the club very quickly, and it's essentially a policy from Manchester City, LB, that a player has 1 year, potentially 2, to prove they're good enough for the right standard, or they'll be moved on and sold. Are these the type of things that United need to implement and stand by to get back to the top?
Well, this United used to have this, Terry. I don't need to tell you. United had this. They had this with Ferguson, and they've let their standards slip. So, people will probably make a big deal out of this, saying, Omar's going to bring the Manchester City standards to United, which he is doing. But United used to have these standards themselves.
Yeah.
They won, 13 out of 20 Premier Leagues or whatever it was under Alex Ferguson. They used to have these standards. And then since he's left, their standards have just dropped. So I think it's about getting those standards back. You know what I mean? Wrestling control away from the players back to the football club. Because at the moment, those players run the club. Yeah, they've got all the managers sacked. And, half of them aren't even good enough. The amount of time, when I do when we do United versus City previews, yeah, and people say, "Oh, LB, what United players would you have at City?" None. I'd probably take Kobe Mainu now as a backup to Rodri. Oh, surely LB, you're taking this guy. No, I'm not just saying it for clicks or for banter. Your club is just like the standards are in the mud, and there's a lot of players that need to be sold and start again. So Dan can sit there and say, yeah, it's going to take years and years. That's the truth. It's going to take years and years. I don't think people realise just how screwed Man United are. Yeah, they need to start again. They need to gut that club, gut all the players out, because half of them aren't good enough. Yeah, stop giving contracts to crap players. Yeah, and if a player doesn't want to leave, no problem. You're training with the kids. That's what they should have done with McTominay and Maguire when they refused to leave to go to West Ham. Oh no, we don't want to go West Ham. We want to stay here. Right, no problem. Then you can train. You train with the under 21s because you're not training with the first team, and then maybe they'll have the ruthlessness has completely gone from your club. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So for me, yeah, listen, your club needs to put in a process. Unfortunately for your fans, and very fortunately for me as a City fan, I think you guys are going to have to accept that again. It's going to take a while, but in my genuine opinion, I do think that you can have now a little bit of faith that this will eventually turn out right. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But I would take De Zerbi, Dan. I would take him over Ten Hag. Ten Hag is not good enough, man, for Man United.
Yeah, De Zerbi, though. Do you look at De Zerbi and think, well, that's a massive upgrade? And Man United are going to be back with him.
I think if Man United want to play this passing style, I think they're better off with De Zerbi than Ten Hag.
Yeah, that's fair, but it's not going to win him anything.
It's not. I don't think it's necessarily about winning stuff at this moment in time, which will trigger some fun. No, it's not. It's not Man United of 20 years ago, Dan.
No, it's not. That's what we've got to get back to, and that's what I'm saying.
But it's not going to get back overnight, though, Dan.
Listen, you've got two options. Man United have got two options. They can either go, right, I want to win in the next couple of years, or I want to give this 5 years, 6 years, like we're doing at Arsenal. Doesn't really matter if you don't chuck trophies away. We're trying to build a team, trying to get competing with Man City, all that crap. For me, if you go and let's say they've got I don't even know how much Man United got to spend in the next summer, right? Let's say they've got 250 million. They're going to be mental, right? Let's just say that. No idea. Would you rather give that to Simeone and say, right, I don't care if you're here for 18 months.
I don't care. I don't want it being given to any manager. I want that. This is where we've got to change. Those decisions.
You're going to tell. You're going to. You just said that.
No, but we're not. We're not. This is what they're telling us we're going to implement. That money is going to be spent by the likes of Omar, by the likes of Dan Ashworth, by the likes of Paul Mitchell for a club philosophy. So for me,
okay, that's fine. That's fine then.
So what you said though, we want both. I want both. So I want us to think about winning trophies.
And say, there's 200. We're going to pay it. We're going to sort you out.
I agree with you. I agree with you that I would prefer Simeone to De Zerbi. But let me just paint you a picture. Maybe Simeone says no.
Yeah.
Then this is the thing.
I don't think you will go there, if I'm honest. But
I also think with the right structure, I think if our structure was how we're trying to build now, if Jose came into that structure, I think if Ten Hag came into that structure, I think they'd have won more than they did. And they both won trophies with us. I think they could have won more whilst helping to build this foundation. I think both are plausible at the same time. With De Zerbi, like one thing we want to see straight away is an improvement in the football. Now, we've seen that with Big Ange Postecoglou. Straight away, Spurs are up near the top of the league. So that I expect from us very quickly to be in a contender type position at this stage. But then there's a difference. It might take 2 or 3 years to bridge that gap between playing really good football and being alongside a City for the first 20, 25 games, and then seeing it through to that 38th game of the season. That, for me, is going to take 2 to 3 years to build a squad with the mental and physical capabilities of being able to do that. So I think it's a combination of all these things. I don't think it's as simple as, I don't think any manager in the world would come in and start dominating the Premier League straight away with Man United. You could bring Pep in with Klopp as his assistant. It's not going to happen because the infrastructure isn't there. But equally, I don't want this, and I don't think that the owners have said this. We're going to come in as a project. Doesn't matter if we don't win anything for 5 years. I think there's going to be a bit of a hybrid of the two.
Yeah, no. So what you need to do, so obviously and Terry's right, they're not going to get someone like Simeone in, because what they want to do, they want to build a squad where they can bring in a manager who plays a certain way and they can just take over it and go. Because that's been United's problem over the last decade. They've gone from Moyes to Van Gaal, completely different managers, They went from whoever you went from, I don't know, Mourinho, you ended up with Ole, then you go back to Ten Hag. It's just a mismatch. They're trying to get away from that. They're trying to build a squad to play a certain way so you can just take out a manager. So what I do is personally, because I don't think Ten Hag's good enough. So the argument about is De Zerbi better than him, for me, that's irrelevant because Ten Hag has failed at Manchester United, in my opinion. He's not good enough as a manager. So I get rid of him, bring De Zerbi in and say, we know you're not going to win anything in the first 12 months, We want you to play better football and implement a style of play. But what they need to do is, instead of doing an Arsenal and saying, well, don't worry, you'll still be here in 5 years, say, after the second year, say, right, you've had a year, you've had 200 million, you're going to get another 200 million, although you're not spending it, as Terry says, it's going to be the sporting directors. You're now expected to compete. And guess what? If he doesn't compete, then get rid of him and bring in someone else who's better. You can't just keep Ten Hag because you think that, is he better than him? Ten Hag's not good enough.
So you think that's a better option, there'll be, than going, Hans Flick, here you go, here's your 18 months. I don't rate De Zerbi. I don't think he's been at the top level. You have. Here's what you've got, 18 months. Why De Zerbi? Why is De Zerbi the guy? I don't get that.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily he is the guy. I'm just saying you got to get rid of Ten Hag. But I don't think people... I think you're massively overestimating United at the moment. You really think a Flick's going to go there? A Simeone's going to go there? That club's a mess, mate. Look at the players they have.
Yeah, it's a mess. I think you have to remember as well that it is Man United. It isn't Wigan. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a huge...
You are right. You are right. But I've had this argument since LVG got sacked, Jose, Ollie, and kind of now with Ten Hag, I've sat on streams with huge United fans, been in spaces with them all. And when it got to Ollie's sacking, I said, I don't really want to sack him. Oh, you're an Ollie apologist. It's nothing to do with apologizing for Ollie. I don't think sacking the manager fixes us. It's why all the idiots that said get rid of Martial and Pogba will be a better team, fools. Anyone who thinks just getting rid of Bruno and Rashford fixes us, fools. Anyone who thinks just sacking Ten Hag fixes us are an idiot. And every single time we sack a manager, typically the new guy comes in, there's a spike. And I always used to get the same messages. Terry's wrong. They said you said you wouldn't get better if you got a new manager. No, I said in the long term, we won't get better. And I said this about Ten Hag when he came in. I said he'll have a spike and an improvement. And when we won the League Cup, I said it. If we get rid of these owners like in that, because there was a lot of rumors that by the end of March, early April, they will announce they've sold the club. So if we get new owners in now, he'll go on to another levels with us. But I said if the Glazers stay, old habits will die hard and we'll be back down in the gutter soon. And it happened. The way we are run and the infrastructure and culture at our club needs to be fixed first. So for me, this January, genuinely, if you said now you could sign Mbappe or the other, but you don't fix the board, or you can fix your board and directors, but you get no players, I'm picking board and directors.
100%.
I genuinely believe that is the first and most important move for Man United, because I look at it this way: the board and your directors in the modern day game, they're your heartbeat. At the end of the day, and getting Mbappe is like getting a getting a new nose done. Do you know what I mean? It's like going to get a bit, because it's like getting a hair transplant, Dan. At the end of the day, if you were told you can have 2 operations, you can get your bald head sorted out, or your heart you're about to have a heart attack, if you can get that fixed. You've got to pick your heart. You've got to get your heart. Bro. You've got to stop the heart attack. Man. Do you know what I mean? And that's where Man United have got heart disease. We're on the edge of a stroke, but we're out here getting our teeth done. It's madness. We spend the money on the wrong thing. We're absolutely abysmally run, and Man United fans don't want to hear it. But it's true.
I just think it's wrong to say Man United it'll take 5-6 years. It might do if you go down that route that you have.
I ain't said that though, Dan. I said 2 to 3 years.
No, I'm not saying you have. I'm just saying there are people that are saying it's going to take ages.
Yeah.
If you want to go and make it,
it doesn't. They're bums. Those people, some people set those standards of 5 years because what they want is everyone to agree with it, so that for 5 years they don't get any banter. That's all. It's a deflection. Do you know what I'm saying? For me, like
we've had it as well. We're only in 4
years, man.
If
it's to Zerbi and we spend 250 million in the summer, I minimum want Champions League football first year. Like I want that. That doesn't mean sack him, because you have to contextualize. But I still want that. And a lot of people say you shouldn't celebrate the top 4. We've lost sight of celebrating finishing in the top 4. Do you know why? Because back in the Premier League's heyday, sort of 04 through to about 2013, 14, all 4 qualifiers pretty much every year could win the Champions League. That's why we used to celebrate being in the damn thing, because our teams were good enough to win it the following year. You weren't celebrating it because it was 4th place and 4th was good. It was because, yes, I'm in the Champions League next year and I believe we can win it. So if we keep improving year in, year out, that's why, like year 1, I want to be the second year, I want to be in the Champions League, because I would hope within a year to 2 years, by the time you get to the knockout stages of the Champions League, you've improved to a point where people fancy you being able to maybe not win it, but be able to go far in the competition and do yourselves proud. So, yeah, for me, I would say 2.5 to 3 years until you're able to really go toe-to-toe with City and Liverpool and Arsenal by the standards they're at now. But infrastructure is key.